All right, so we've got the market economy. The other sort of answer to the question of who determines prices is what we call a controlled economy. And this is where the government controls the prices. Now that's completely opposite of what we just said, right? The whole thing about a market economy is that the government stays out of it, laissez-faire. But obviously we get all those problems. We get inequality, we get some outcomes from the marketplace that are just nasty, and so we say, okay, we need the government to get involved. The more that we say that, the more, the sense we sort of move towards a controlled economy. So these are not like on-off switch. This is more like a dimmer, where here we have a market economy and here we have a command economy. And usually, like for example, the US might be here. It is definitely not a full-on market economy. We want the government to get involved in a number of places, just not in everything. The Soviet Union may have been closer to this over here. Not fully a command economy, but definitely closer than that. So again, it's more of a sliding scale than it is an on-off switch. So it's a question of how much we kind of want the government involved to solve those problems we were just talking about. So in a controlled economy, the government sets society goals and manipulates the economy to meet them. It says essentially if the market's doing this, it's not going to meet the goals of society. The one thing that a market economy does really well is economic efficiency. If all you care about is efficiency and a growing economy, market economy is your thing. But if you care about other things, like for example, protection of human beings, equal opportunity, a lack of inequality, if you care about those things, then you need the government to step in and sort of fix the market where it's broke. And so that is sort of the government sets society goals, and it manipulates the economy to meet them. So for example, the Soviet Union. Let's take the Soviet Union back in the early 20th century with Lenin and Stalin in charge. This is Stalin right here. What's up, Stalin? Sweet mustache. So Russia was way behind the rest of Europe. Europe economically was just way ahead than the Soviet Union. And here's the thing: if the Soviet Union or Russia just sort of keeps doing what it's doing, it is the only thing it's really competitive in the economically in the early 20th century is agriculture. But agriculture, there's no money in that, and so essentially the rest of Europe is going to be able to tell Russia what to do because economically they're going to dominate Russia. If they want to send tanks in, we don't have tanks, we don't have industry, we don't have anything. And that's because that's what the market is saying, you guys should focus on agriculture. And Lenin and Stalin said, we're not going to do that. We're not going to let sort of just the market say, you guys are going to be kind of the crappy ones of Europe. We're going to get in there and we're going to kind of tinker with things and make sure that we can compete. So what they did, what Stalin especially did, was this idea of forced industrialization. The market sort of wouldn't have led to industrialization in Russia. They just would have bought stuff from other countries that had industrialized. So we have to make this happen. Now, it's incredibly economically inefficient. You had to say to a lot of farmers, you're done being farmers. I need you to move to the cities and start working in these factories, which we're going to build. We got to figure this all out. We got to sort of move from 0 to 60. Even though the market's not sort of letting that happen, we're going to make that happen. It's going to be incredibly inefficient to do this. But if the government doesn't force it to happen, it's not going to happen. And essentially, by the time we get to World War II, at least, Russia had industrialized. It had, a stronger military machine. It had a stronger economy. It had all those things. But it required this sort of very, very inefficient way of doing things. Now, here's the thing about this. Like I just said, if you're going to force industrialization, you have to control workforce choices as well. So in a market economy, if I want to be a farmer, and farmer sort of works out, I get to choose what I want to do. That doesn't work in a forced industrialization situation. The government, or I should say the society, needs you to be in a factory. We need more factory workers. So you can't choose not to be a factory worker. Well, I don't really feel like that's my vocation, my life's calling. Doesn't matter. Go to the factory. And that creates some problems for us on the other side about choice and freedom and things like that. So there are some definite downsides to this as well. It fixes some of the problems from the market economy, but it creates all new problems about choice, about efficiency. So again, this is the downsides of this, which a market economy can help fix. Which is why, depending on what you care most about, is probably the direction you're going on this sort of sliding scale about how much the government is intervening in the economy. For our purposes, we have a situation where essentially the Soviet Union was here, and at the end of the Cold War, it's going to transition to here. What's the messiness about changing to a market economy, the government withdrawing from essentially providing a lot of things that it would have provided before? All right, so that's who determines prices. The next question we're going to ask is who owns the means of production?